Welcome to Rated Radio, the show where artists and albums are pitted against each other while their songs get rated on a scale of 0 to 10. I'm your host, Shane Wyndham, and this is the Outkast Deep Dive. Hope you're ready for a fight. I'm actually headed to Atlanta for work soon, so the timing on this is just crazy. Anyway, as always, I handpicked these albums. Normally, the final album is rolled at random, but it wound up being the only thing by Outkast we haven't listened to on the show, so that's what's here. I would note at the outset that I've got Speakerboxxx and The Love Below here, and I'm treating them as separate albums. I know they belong together. They are a pair, a team, a duo, but I really wanted to get a feel for my feelings of each one of those individually. So we'll go in order. We'll start with Southernplayalisticadillacmuzik from 1994. This was the debut. It was my bottom album. That's the number 4 position. Of the 17 tracks, I thought 6 were great, and none of those got a flawless rating. My bottom track was Club Donkey Ass, and my top track was my intro to Let You Know. The music makes me feel like I'm in a neighborhood where people aren't afraid of a good time, but also don't put up with no bullshit. Next up would be Speakerboxxx from 2003. This held my number 2 position, so runner-up. Of the 19 tracks, I thought 5 were great, and none of those got a flawless rating. My bottom track was the D-Boy interlude, and my top track was Ghetto Music. The music makes me feel like I'm cruising to a solid mix CD that skips on occasion. Then there's The Love Below, also from 2003. This was actually my top album. Of the 21 tracks, I thought 5 were great. None of those got a flawless rating, though. My bottom track was Good Day, Good Sir, and my top track was Happy Valentine's Day. Feels strange to say out loud, but that's how the numbers shook out. The music makes me feel like my local hip-hop club has started hosting a poppy, funk/jazz night. Then finally, we have Idlewild from 2006. This was my number 3 album. Of the 25 tracks, I thought 8 were great, but none of those got a flawless rating. My bottom track was the Zora interlude, and my top track was Call the Law. The music makes me feel like someone wanted to make undeniable that jazz and blues were born in the gritty dirt of the Wild West. To say I've struggled with crowning medalists among these LPs is the greatest of understatements. What I landed on was mostly based on the strength of 8s and 9s on a given disc, the irony being that my emotional side would likely reverse the rankings. And I think that's down to preference of style and listenability. This is to say that I'm most often in a mood to hear the debut, even though I ranked it last. Also, looking at Wasted Space, or tracks that got rated below a 7, if you will, the debut also lands on top of the pile with The Love Below on bottom. So take my rankings for the gobbledygook they're apt to be for most folks. What I think is nowhere close to nonsense are the overarching themes I noticed about their music while listening. Another reviewer described Outkast's eventual direction as being, for better or worse, depending on your taste in music, excessive, or akin to Prince where experimentation and genre are concerned. Viewing these ratings in full would make clear that I liked more of this than it may seem, the majority of non-skit tracks landing 5s and 6s. I found the lyricism and choruses to be hit or miss, the repetition to be routinely overwhelming, and the lack of melody changes to be the biggest drawback preventing ratings of greatness. Juxtapose that, however, with some of the wildest instrumental flourishes layered in and out of damn near everything. The occasional tracks which threaten to hit those 10 ratings, the rare solos, usually on piano, which go harder than anything I've heard in the rap category, and a duo of varied voices that I can't help loving, even after all these years spent listening to them. They're experts at crafting a catchy melody, in my opinion. They just need to attach it to another melody in more spots within the same song, and not get so excessive toward the end of things. Plenty of folks clearly believe the excess is glorious, but I'll be honest about the fact that I don't. There's simply rarely enough evolution to keep the excess interesting for me. What I continue to love about the debut is how involved Goody Mob was, reminding me of what you'd get if 3 6 Mafia had been half of some early Bone Thugs LP. It's southern 90s rap and I love it, flawed though plenty of it is. The double disc is where I differ most from other professional reviewers since, while an interesting enough experiment, I don't enjoy this group nearly as much when they're separated vocally, the result being close to what I'd call tedious to listen to all the way through. Idlewild continues the otherworldly vibe of Speakerboxxx and The Love Below, but brings them back together in more places, while offering up the vibes of a saloon's player piano atop the rest of their enchanting soundscapes. Basically, I find it hard to imagine, solid though they are, that all three of these albums will appeal equally to most folks. Personally, AT-Aliens and Equimini will continue to be what I turn to as my favorite spins for Outkast, but, and this is a very important but, there's much broader appeal with other parts of their discography than what you get on my top albums. It's a complicated relationship you can expect to have because these are complicated artists. The duo of talent behind the curtain here is one many people would have laughed out of the room if described without musical backing, but the music came unapologetically, and it worked so much better than record execs would have bet on beforehand. These guys are to rap what System of a Down are to rock. It's wacky, it's deep, it's infectious all in one. And even if I'll only set the best of these discs aside for future listens, this was an overall experience I'm grateful got to exist in the first place. Please like or comment if you're still listening, and remember, you can send all kinds of feedback to rated_radio@yahoo.com. You can even see the majority of songs I rate by clicking join for free at patreon.com/ratedradio. Anyway, that's gonna do it for season 12. Until next time, fill your world with music.